not spying on them, but you're sitting around and you'll hear them talk. You hear how they joke, you hear the words that they use, you hear what they watch, what they listen to, and you'll understand what's in their heads. And that's even better than asking them questions and having a youth talk with them, because the youth talk is going to be filtered. They don't want to reveal the real, But if you're sitting around, you hear them talking, you hear curse words, you hear this woman's private part, this rapper, this, that. You'll be shocked what you hear. I remember once I was in the masjid, several years ago, I was in New York City, we're having iftar. Iftar, masjid is packed in Ramadan. And I'm sitting, minding my business, making the adhan, brothers are laughing and they're joking. And I wasn't snooping on the brothers, but of course, I'm not heedless. You know what the basic stuff that's going on around you. So they're laughing and joking and they're passing the phone back and forth. I'm like, what's going on? And the next thing I know, I look down, the brother's in the masjid, young brother, with a phone full of, really bad stuff on his phone. Really bad stuff. So I'm saying to myself, whoa, wait a second. Maybe my eyes are messed up. This can't be. In the masjid, in Ramadan, they're looking at this filthy stuff, laughing and joking. Oh man, you see this? Check this out. Yeah, look at it. I'm like, whoa, I gotta be dreaming. So I'm like, this is a reality. So I tapped the brother on the shoulder and said, you can't do that, especially in the masjid, right? If you have a problem, whatever, hide it. Have some weakness. Have some shyness. This is the house of Allah. This is sacred. You can't be looking at that filth here. He's like, yeah, you're right. And he put up the phone. And subhanAllah, if he happens to be watching this video, and didn't mention his name, he knows that this is a true story. This brother now is one of the most respectful, one of the most diligent, one of the most strong young men in the community. If you see him now, you would never think that this is a true story. You never think so. You never believe it. But it's a true story. So the moral of the story is that our children, they idolize sports. They love sports. They look up to sports more than the Sahaba. You ask them about this basketball player, they'll tell you everything about him. They won't tell you nothing about Abu Bakr or Umar. They don't know who Mus'ab ibn Umayr was, Khalid bin Walid. They don't know who Sa'd ibn Waqqas was. It's a fact. So therefore, no problem. Instead of fighting the tide, let's speak to them in a language in which they understand. Let's talk about sports. Hadith nasa bima ya'rifun. Ali radiallahu anhu said, speak to the people in a language that they understand. So therefore, let's talk about sports. What does this big basketball player do when he gets injured? Does he quit? Does he give up? Does he drop out of the NBA? What happens if he loses in Game 7? Does he come back the next year? What happens if he injures himself on the court? What does he do? Of course he's going to say, of course he doesn't quit. Of course he doesn't give up, because that's LeBron James. That's Fulan, Curry Irving, or Steph Curry, or this one and that one, etc., etc., etc. Okay, no problem. So therefore, life is a game. You miss a shot, you miss a game, you lose a championship, you injure yourself. What you going to do? Give up, quit? You're going to tuck your tail, you're going to run? Or you're going to stand in and fight, suck it up, try again harder, learn from your mistake, learn from your error. Why do you think he's such a great basketball player? Because you don't see him practicing taking 300 free throws. The camera doesn't show you that. 300, 500 three-pointers he's shooting every single day. So when he gets on the court, running, fourth quarter, all he has to do is what? Throw the ball in the air and it lands. Because he's not a quitter. He has a stomach. He has some type of courage. So this is a non-Muslim, a non-believer, playing a sport, getting paid millions of dollars to dribble an inflated piece of rubber. Think about that now. Millions of dollars to play a sport. You're a Muslim, a servant of Allah. You worship Allah. You're going to give up and quit? You're just going to give up on life like that? You're going to run away because you made one mistake, one error? You can't be serious. You shouldn't be watching basketball if that's your mentality. You really don't respect those basketball players, because those basketball players, they don't quit. They don't give up. They keep trying. They practice. They study. They watch hours and hours of film, and they look at their mistakes. They travel. They eat. They sleep with their coaches. That's a fact. Their teammates. So if that's the dunya, then what do you think about the deen? So I would instill in them love and respect and courage and bravery. You can't be a quitter. All right, you got a tattoo. That's bad, no doubt. But it's not the worst. It's not the end of your life. You can make tawbah. You can make repentance. A sister has an illegitimate baby. That's a problem. Zina is a problem. Family, culture, that's a big problem. But it's not the end of the world. You never know what Allah has decreed for you. You never know what can happen. You don't know. You don't give up. You don't quit. Versus us pushing the youth away from the masjid because they made a mistake. Because you made this sin, don't ever come back here no more. I disown you. Because you shamed me, you humiliated me, you're not welcome in the masjid. Or everyone's going to look at you. That's incorrect. It's wrong. So oftentimes, what did we say today? Ali, you said what? If they're strong, if the general is strong, there'll be no weak soldiers. So how do we deal with our children when they make a mistake? What do we say to them? Do we push them further away, or do we try to pick them up, smack some sense back into them? So this is one of the ways. One of the ways. As far as the Quran, as far as the Hadith, then we all know what the Quran says about losing hope in Allah's mercy. We all know what the Prophet ﷺ says about the woman who fornicated and was stoned to death. And she said, "Purify me, O Messenger of Allah. Put the punishment on me." Think about this. She didn't hide, and she was carrying a baby, breastfeeding the baby. The messenger said, "Go, get away from me, go." He didn't want to put the punishment on her, and let alone that the baby needed the woman. And the woman persisted. "Tahirni ya Rasulullah, cleanse me of the filth of fornication that I fell into." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Go and come back when the child doesn't need your breast milk anymore." The woman came back. The narration said the little infant had a piece of bread in his hand, meaning table food. And the Prophet ﷺ, he did what? He stoned her to death. He put the punishment on her. And then he told the companions, this woman, she made a tawbah so sincere, so pure, she had so much regret, is that lo wuziyat ala ahli Medina, if it was given to the people of Medina, it would have covered all of them. The tawbah that she made for herself would have been enough for everyone in Medina. So just think about that now. You make a mistake, you make an error. It's not the end of the world. Get up, dust yourself off, fix yourself, get back into the game. And our children, if they were reading the Quran and Sunnah, if they were listening to the Quran and Sunnah, then they wouldn't be what? They wouldn't even be in that situation. So oftentimes you got to speak to them in a language that what? They can understand. That's what I would say. Wallahu a'lam. What is the importance of knowing about the Taghut living in America? Knowing about the Taghut and rejecting it and disbelieving in it is important everywhere. The East, Middle East, North, West, South. Rather, there cannot be Iman in Allah without the kufr and the rejection of the Taghut. As Allah clearly says in the Quran, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. He who rejects the Taghut and believes in Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he clearly mentions in the authentic hadith, "Man wahad Allah wa kafara bima yu'badu min dunillah," is the one who singles out Allah in worship. He believes in Tawheed, wa kafara bima yu'badu min dunillah, and he rejects, he looks down upon, he disassociates himself from that which is worshipped besides Allah. Then we know his blood and his wealth is sacred. So there cannot be belief in Allah without rejection of those who contest and oppose Allah in all aspects and all meanings of the word Taghut. Someone that is exceeding their limits in worship, in politics, in knowledge, and following whatever or whoever the Taghut is and the heads of the Taghut. So therefore, in brief, a Muslim in America, in order to be a Muslim, he has to reject the Taghut. And there are many Muslims who say, many scholars who say, is that when a person becomes a Muslim, they take their Shahada, and they had a previous religion, they have to denounce it. And they have to speak on Christ and other things that were thought to be deities. And they have to specifically denounce those things. And they can't just say, La ilaha illallah alone. The moral of the story is, you cannot be a true believer, you can't be a believer at all, unless you disassociate yourself from the Taghut. So that is something which is the spinal cord. That's the vertebrae of the deen. Al-kufr bil-taghut. And if you look at Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the imam of the prophets, the leader, the one that everyone claims and attributes themselves to, Ibrahim's whole story is about rejecting the taghut and about disassociating yourself from the people of the taghut. His father, his family, he walked away from them. Inna bura'a'u minkum. We are free from you, physically and spiritually. We don't want to live near you, nor are we cool. We're not cool because you worship idols and we worship Allah. So the whole Quran talks about the taghut and it's how it misleads and how it has misled many people. You can't be a believer unless you reject it. And of course that necessitates what? Knowledge. And there are many manifestations of the taghut, and there are different types of categories of it, which that in itself is a whole lecture series. Not a lecture, that's a lecture series. That's a whole weekend conference just on the meaning and the types of taghut and how the taghut, unfortunately, is a part of our daily lives. In America and in the Middle East, from the dollar bills in your pocket, to the jersey that you wear, to the video games that you play, to the foods, the sweets, the desserts that you eat, the sneakers on your feet. One aspect, one level or another, let alone the history of this country, right? May Allah make it easy for us all, I mean.
Excuse me. So if you're a brother and you're just a belief while your father's known or not present at all, are you allowed to impose your will on your sisters or hit them in any way to whip them in shape?
With regards to a will?
Impose your will.
Impose your will. If you're the leader of the husband, the leader of the family, if your father isn't around, you're saying, can you impose your will on your sisters, etc.? Understood. Well, that depends. If you're the youngest, if you're the baby boy, they may not allow you to impose your will, even if you try. I understand your question, meaning the concept of there are certain duties and certain responsibilities that Allah has given the male, period. Even if he's the youngest. There are certain things that a woman cannot do in Islam. Even if she's smarter and more talented or physically stronger, certain things that the man has to do. So if your father isn't there or whatever the case may be, and you're the guardian of the women, you impose your will, meaning you guide them. You enjoin the good, you forbid the evil. If you have the ability to enforce Allah's laws, you do so, but with wisdom, with gentleness. But if you have to put your foot down, no doubt.
The household that I come from, my grandma, she's the one who takes care of the girls. I never really, it was always wrong for any sort of contact of aggression towards the females or sisters. That was always a punishable. So I wanted to make sure that was true or not.
To an extent, but not fully. We don't know. I got in trouble earlier. I tried to avoid the personal question earlier on the bus, but the brother, he insisted. We will come back to that one, Isaiah. I don't want to get in trouble with moms. Next question. Father Mujahid.
Different aspects of taghut. One of the aspects you mentioned was even in the clothes. For years, I had a problem with night. I still don't wear night because I don't feel comfortable wearing it. Do you feel anything wrong with that? Is it wrong for me to...
Understood. Well, like we said, speaking about the taghut, that needs time. That needs time. It's not a 5-minute discussion. But in general, there are manifestations of taghut in all aspects of life, especially in this country, and from that was clothing. And the concept of wearing clothes, whether it's a brand name, or a jersey, an athlete's name on your back that you love and respect and idolize, who isn't a Muslim, who doesn't pray, who doesn't believe in Allah, doesn't believe in the last day. You idolize this player. He's your hero. That's a problem. And there's supposed to be wala and bara. Love and allegiance for the believers and the faithful. Hatred and disloyalty, disassociation from those who are faithless. So how can I say I hate the kuffar, I distance myself from them, but I got in a Joe Montana jersey? Or a Jordan jersey, the old school one, when he was first drafted, before he was Air Jordan, right? It's a bit contradictory, right? Or this person is a well-known homosexual, a well-known person who hates Islam, and I'm wearing his stuff, flaunting it flamboyantly. It's a problem. All right, so that isn't necessarily incorrect or wrong. As far as Nike, then if you say it's haram, which you didn't say, but most people didn't say it's haram to wear Nikes, then it's also haram to drive a Mazda or a Nissan or a Chevrolet or have dollar bills in your pocket. What's on a dollar bill? All types of stuff that's not even Christian, let alone Islamic. There are things on a dollar bill that go against the values of Christianity. Pure, open paganism. Occult stuff, etc. Esoteric, whatever the word you want to use. So there are many brands that have hidden messages, that have symbols and signs. If you want to get deeper than that, a logo. Where do logos come from? Read the history of logos. There's very deep history behind a logo and behind the concept of masonry, symmetric, the angles. There's a whole discussion. So many people, they beat up, they bully Nike. Nike is the name of a goddess, Nike's this, okay, no problem. And so is that. And so is this on your wrist. And so is your Bluetooth. And so is that. And so is the Apple, etc., etc., etc. So it's not just Nike. At the end of the day, if you feel uncomfortable wearing Nikes, then stay away from that which makes you uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. Nor is that considered to be extreme. I don't feel comfortable wearing it. That's fine. I know a brother who doesn't wear any symbols on any of his clothes. All the clothes that he wears, plain, basic, no outward symbols or logos. That's his style. But don't go to the extreme and tell a brother that's haram to drive this or to wear this, because that's not necessarily the case. Wallahu a'lam. It's time for the adhan. We can make the adhan if it's time, inshallah. And then we can stop whenever, but make the adhan if it's time. Sorry, any other questions? Fadl, Isaiah.
Was there ever a case where suicide was redeemable?
Was there ever a case in which suicide was redeemable? I can't answer that question. And that's because the only one who can allow redemption is Allah. And if a person kills himself, that means he's what? He's in the hereafter. We don't know. Okay? For argument's sake, let's say for argument's sake, is that a Muslim felt that it was a necessity to take his life. For argument's sake, whether you agree with that or not, but for argument's sake. Or a Muslim felt that it was permissible in this instance to take his life, for argument's sake. His standing is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that suicide is a major sin. Suicide is an abomination. And it's a huge punishment for killing yourself and not having the necessary patience. But that's easy for me to say. We're not talking about somebody who killed themselves because of this worldly issue. We're talking about someone who's in a major situation, such as war, battle. A person was between being tortured, being molested, being this, being that, giving up the information that will harm the Muslims. They're going to torture me. I have the patience, but my body is human. It's only going to last for so long until my nervous system gives in. So that may be right, that may be right, that may be wrong. But me and you, we're not what? We're not in that situation. So that person may, for argument's sake, say, here, the lesser of the two harms is for me to do what I need to do instead of them capturing me alive, humiliating me, torturing me, and most importantly, me giving up the sensitive intelligence about the Muslims that may tip the battle. So that's serious. But we can't make that decision. Suicide is haram, it's unlawful. And most people who commit suicide, they're not making suicide on a battlefield. They're making suicide because of some stupid worldly reason. A I'm depressed, I'm sad, my girlfriend, this person doesn't like me anymore, I got pregnant, I got this STD, I can't come home like this, my parents disown me, my soccer team lost. Something like that. Of course, there's no excuse for that. Wallahu alam.
Is it wrong to want to go and hunt or kill rapists, pedophiles, and people in that sort of section?
Is it wrong to want to hunt and kill and take revenge to punish rapists, pedophiles, sex offenders, etc., etc., etc.? It's not necessarily wrong. These people, they have done a great wrong to others, to themselves. They've destroyed people's lives. Most people that are violated like that don't really bounce back. And if they do bounce back, they only bounce back on the surface. But under that surface and that core, there's a great deal of damage. And FYI, there are many people who have all types of marital problems because of their backgrounds. I was raped when I was young, I was molested when I was young, I was abused when I was younger. And it travels into the marriage and it messes up the marriage. That's a fact. So someone who rapes someone or molests someone, violates someone, let alone a child, that person is a huge zalim. He's a big wrongdoer. It's better for him to have made zina. It's better for him to have slept, made zina 100 times than to violate and to steal someone's innocence and to mess them up mentally for the rest of their life. That's messed up. So from one aspect, of course, that person deserves punishment. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. That's how things go. And then outside of Islam. But it doesn't mean that a Muslim is to become a vigilante and to take everything into his own hands. Because when people take things into their own hands, things get very, very sloppy. And it gets sloppy very quickly. They get out of hand. Harming yourself, harming others, or a person goes extreme. They go too far. So a part of the answer is yes. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't mean that you turn things into a chaotic mess. Bloodshed. Once blood is poured, it becomes very sticky. That's a fact. And Allah knows best. Father Brian.
Wanted definitions for the term backbiting.
Okay.
In Al-Islam.
Backbiting is talking about your brother in a manner that you know your brother doesn't like. He ain't cool with it. He's not okay with it. So, you seen Brother Abdurrahman? Yeah, you talking about skinny Abdurrahman with the big glasses? He doesn't mind being called skinny. Nor does he mind someone recognizing him with thick glasses. Versus, you saw Abdurrahman, he all skinny looking like he's sick, got those big thick bottle cap glasses. Yeah, I know him. He clearly has a major insecurity about his glasses. And he has a major insecurity about being so skinny and frail. People made fun of him his whole life that he's skinny, that he's frail. So you're saying something about him, true or not, that he dislikes. That is ghiba. And that's when the Prophet ﷺ said, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ Ya Rasulullah, أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ كَانَ فِي أَخِي مَا أَقُولُ. But what if I'm saying things that are true? He says, if you're saying things about him that are true, فَقَدْ اغْتَبْتَهُ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ فِيهِ فَقَدْ بَهَتَّهُ. And if not, you're a slanderer and a liar. So therefore, that's the definition of backbiting. But it doesn't mean that you can't identify someone in a way, nor does it mean that you can't make jokes with your brother, but be careful. Be careful. A person may laugh outwardly, but they may cry inwardly. He laughs, yeah, that's right, I got this, and deep down inside, dang, another person talking about me. Another person making jokes about me. Wallahu a'lam. And slander is slander. Backbiting is backbiting. And this is one of the most scorned sins. People, they look down on backbiting. They look at it as a small thing. They don't look at it as a big thing. But people sit around and they talk about people. It's a problem. In the back, our dear mother. Come back, inshallah. It's okay. The soul is in Allah's hands.
Yes, in some ways it's okay
What happens if what? I'm sorry?
You do what you need to. I get life and I take death.
That's right.
So you say, yeah, in some cases it's okay. To me, it negates that.
Understood.
Where me personally, I'm like, okay, it's hard to appreciate when it's you the one or your child is being done to.
For sure.
Me personally, I'm like, kill him, okay? But like for worldwide or vigilante kind, doesn't that negate the law? Okay, I give life and I take death.
Understood.
Then you don't know if that person who's done it has done his power up.
Understood.
You know, repeatedly doing it.
Understood. Well, in brief, in general, Allah is the king. No doubt about that. He owns everything. But that doesn't negate the fact that on earth there are kings. On a day of judgment, Allah will speak to them. And he will say, where aina muluk dunya? Where are the kings of this world? Allah calls them what? Kings. So Allah is the king, and there are other kings which aren't really kings. Allah takes life. That doesn't mean that Allah doesn't allow people to take others' lives, legally or illegally. If I put out a 9mm and I pointed at someone's head and I squoze the trigger and blew his brains out, have I not taken his life? Of course I have. Have I not caused death? Of course I have. Only with Allah's permission, legal or illegal, but I took his life. So there's a concept of what Allah does, and there's a concept of what the human does. So Allah gives, Allah takes. Allah, huwa yuhyi wa yumit. Allah's name, al-muhyi, al-mumit. The giver of life and the causer of death. That doesn't mean that there aren't times in which killing is legal and lawful. Self-defense, capital punishment, legal warfare, etc. So Allah is the giver of life, no one else. Allah is the taker of life, no one else. And Allah allows human beings to do things on a smaller scale. So there's no clash between this and between what? That. I'm sorry? Avenging as well. Avenging, yes. There are many times in Islam, murder is unlawful, as a fact. There's no murder that's lawful. But there is killing in Islam, which is lawful in certain times and instances, just like other religions. And just like those who have no religion. Those who promote peace and democracy and freedom, what do they do when they have conflict? They what? The biggest, strongest, most formidable army, navy, special forces in the world. There you go. So sometimes killing is a necessity. Sometimes it's a necessity. All right? So that's first and foremost. As far as, what if that person made a tawbah? How do you know they didn't repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is a fact. You don't know. And that's why I said you can't take things into your own hands. But even if a person did make repentance, there are certain crimes that are punishable by death, even with tawbah, such as life or life. I made repentance. We get that. And inshallah, Allah accepted your repentance. But that doesn't mean what? Hello. You understand? And Allah knows best. Yeah, Jane out? I wouldn't say it's haram to wear Nike. Hopefully it's okay, inshallah. All right? MashaAllah. Trying to repeat you, Sheikh. We had a question on the right side. Father Ali.
Sheikh, for a community that isn't blessed with those of knowledge, like yourself, how can we, of course, while we're in search of finding someone like yourself, how can our members know how to educate themselves and be a true Hadith disciple and not have an excuse for not getting knowledge?
Understood. Well, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Stay connected. Stay plugged. So, in this community, and I'll say something which is the truth. May Allah forgive me if it isn't. A sad reality. I've been in too many masjids like this. Too many. Wallahi, too many. In which there's a community, beautiful brothers and sisters, beautiful building, people who love Islam, and they don't have a formal imam. Something's wrong. Something's seriously wrong. And I'm not praising myself, but something's wrong. Where are the knowledgeable brothers at? Where are the graduates? Where are the people who went overseas and studied? Brothers, when they want to go overseas and study, they have a big problem with making money. Their parents say, well, how are you going to support yourself? We know that you love Islam. We know that you want to be but how are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to get married, son? So you don't seek knowledge for money. You don't seek knowledge as just a profession to make money. That's not what you do. But as a fact, is that if you learn Islam and you're good, you have talent, you have skill, you've learned the Quran, you've learned Hadith, you speak Arabic, there's no excuse why you're unemployed. And making money and having an occupation, I'm going to say this should be the last of your worries. So I know too many brothers, colleagues, they went to school, they came home, they took jobs doing this, working here. Or they complain, I can't get a job, I can't support my family, I got to do this. I don't understand. If I had a dollar for every match that I've been to, which the people said, Mufti, we want to steal you. What does it take? What do we have to give you? We'll marry from our community. We'll chain you up, lock you up. You can't leave. Well, if I had a dollar for every time, I'll be a rich man. So it's a sad reality that there are many masjids like this, beautiful communities that don't have a formal imam. That's a problem. And any brother who's hearing my words online, who has that knowledge, or the brothers that are local, you go overseas, you go study. People are in need of sound, knowledgeable Islamic leadership. That is a fact. All right? So therefore, until you get that sound Islamic leadership, until you have that access, stay plugged in. You stay connected. Invite people. They can't come, okay, you're busy. Can you do a Zoom for us? Set it up once a month, once a week. Every 3 months, have a different speaker come. Okay? The money that it costs to bring somebody, that's nothing. For what you're getting, that's nothing. Plane ticket, hotel, honorarium, that's, to one brother, that's what? That's chump change. In reality, what you need. Done. Bring them. That's nothing. Let alone people coming together collectively. So my advice is that if you can't have the person here consistently, stay plugged. There's no reason why there isn't a Zoom lecture every week with a projector here at this match. Every week. No reason why. He's going to do this class with us. This brother's going to do this class with us. We're going to have class for the sisters. There's no reason why. And there's no reason why you don't have a new guest every 3 months, every 2 months, every month, depending on what you need. Until, bidnillahi ta'ala, you throw that line and you catch that fish. And the brother that comes and says, I like it. Let's negotiate. Let's talk. What can you do for me? I got a family. No problem. You need a house? We got houses for you. You need a car? Got cars for you. This is your community. We want you to stay. And even when you do have a stable imam, you keep that flowing of knowledge. You have people who come visit you, people who speak to you, and most importantly, you allow your imam to continue to study. Every year, give him a month off, study leave. Unfortunately, like the Christians do. Every year, give them a paid month to go overseas, make umrah, sit there for a month and come back. Because the sharper you remain, the better what? For the community, for the kids, for the brothers and for the sisters. So that's my advice. On being a hadith disciple, being a hadith disciple is not about me. Wallahi, it's not about me. It's bigger and greater than me. Being a hadith disciple is remaining true to the values of a disciple. An unwavering, loyal adherent, learner of the truth, of Quran, of Sunnah, as was understood and practiced by the Sahaba. And if I don't have the knowledge, I know who does have the knowledge. If that person who has the knowledge is too far, he can't come, stay in touch with him. Every week we have a list of questions. Can we ask you, Sheikh, whether it's me or somebody else? We want to book a session with you. Every week, Sheikh, we have questions. Give us a 10-minute talk. Stay connected with the brothers. Keep the movement, all right? That's my nasiha. And then eventually, bidnillahi ta'ala, one way or another, you'll find someone who's qualified that can be the spiritual and the religious leader of this community. You'll find them, inshallah. They're out there. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam. Fadl Mujahid.
Would you happen to know of any organizations, national or international, that help provide funding for stuff like that? Help pay for it?
Clear. There are, but you got to be careful. You have to be careful. There's some organizations that are made to ensnare and entrap. That's a fact. They talk about funding in Islam, give you money, provide this, they'll build this, and they're trying to trick you. And they're looking for a quota. Oh, he asked us about weapons. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. It's a fact. Or he talked about, let's kill these people. When did I say that? He did say it. Our agent has it. So be careful. But there are organizations within and outside of America that deal with communities that need help. But I'm going to say something, and that is maintaining a local resident imam, in my humble opinion, I don't think it's that difficult. His salary, look, what does an imam need? Of course, he needs lodging. If the imam is worrying about his rent, if he has to work 8 hours here and 2 hours there, he's not going to be a focused imam. Allah only gave a man one heart, not two. So the worst mistake is to have an imam and he has to worry about his bills, pampers, baby wipes, and diapers. He can't focus on the khutbah and the Quran if he's stressing and his wife is nagging him about baby wipes, about rent. So the first thing that the imam needs is a place to stay. And that place should be close to the masjid, in which rain, sleet, hail, snow, he is accessible. He doesn't have to walk and drive and get stuck in traffic. So that's number one. Whether it be a house, whether it be an apartment, whether it be a part of the masjid, lodging. Number two, the imam is going to need a basic stipend. He's not in it, inshallah, to be rich. You can't be, some imams got money, mashallah, but in general, imams, they don't get paid that much money. Let alone the work that they put in, the stress, the drama that they have to deal with. They're underpaid. That's a fact. The abuse that the imams go through, they're underpaid. So you want to make the imam, you want to give him something that keeps him comfortable. Not too much, in which the main focus is money, but not too little, in which he's still stressing over money. And you want to have a competitive salary. And whether you like it or not, money talks. That's a fact. And we know other things, what? They walk, which we can't say in the masjid. That's a fact of life. Money talks. And the other kalam, blah, 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 inshallah, what? No one trying to hear that. So look, this is what we need from you. We need you to come to our community. We need you to be here 7 days a week, 5 days a week. We need you to teach us. We need you to guide us. We need you to be there for our youth. And this is what we offer you, not for the knowledge, but the compensation of your time. And if you got other masjids that heard about this brother, that want this brother, it's going to be competitive. And the only thing that's going to talk is what? That's the nature of life. And there are other small things that the imam may need. Give him an office, make a library for him, a room in which he have his books, and most importantly, give the imam respect. And you teach him that you're not just an employee. You're our spiritual leader. Not just you're under our la. And that's most masjids, they make that mistake. And even for argument's sake, if the imam is an employee, you don't have to keep saying that. A true boss never talks like that. He doesn't keep reminding and throwing in people's faces, I'm the boss. Unless he's weak and inferior. You don't have to keep throwing in someone's face, I'm the leader, I'm the husband. You don't have to keep saying that. It's already known. And if and when there's an argument or a discussion, he may need a friendly reminder, hey, you know, right? I'm the top dog in this pack. Don't challenge me. You understand? That's only every now and then. You don't have to keep saying that. So many administrations, they treat the imam like a slave. That's a fact. Ball and chain. You have to be here for every salah. You can't have no sick days. You have to answer the phone call at 3 a.m., 2 a.m. We're going to give you a couple $100 a week. You can't miss a khutbah. You can't this. You can't talk about this. You got to speak about this. They treat him like a slave. And if and when the imam says something, or he wants to correct things that are incorrect in the masjid, the first thing they tell him, hey, don't forget, you're an employee. We can fire you when we want to, which is the truth. But it doesn't mean that you got to what? Keep saying it. So give respect to the imam, and inshallah the imam will respect the people. So these are basic things that an imam needs. Inshallah ta'ala, if you share the vision with the imam, you trust his knowledge, you feel that he has the necessary talent, the necessary skills, the necessary training, you make him an offer. And you tell him, look, we need you And in reality, you need us. We need each other. Bismillah. And until you find that, be patient, but stay plugged. So the point, the moral story is, that's not going to cost us so much money. Whether that's through donations, whether the masjid has buildings that they rent out, whether there are people who support it, you have donors, you have people that have pledges, business owners, etc. It's not that much money in reality. The money that you spend on clothes, and food, and video games, to have a respectable imam with a respectable salary. And many brothers, unfortunately, they're cheap. That's a fact. Many masjids are cheap. Trust me, I know. I know, they're cheap. Tight-fisted. They squeeze the quarter so hard that the eagle screams. That's a reality. And if you have that cheap, miserly mentality, your masjid is never, ever going to flourish. Because the imam is never going to give his all to you. Because you haven't given what? That's life. Wallahu a'lam. Khair, inshallah. And all the questions. Go ahead.
I had seen back a couple, I don't know if it was a couple of years, I think it was probably like last year, you had touched bases on, well, a single mother that, raising sons. So my question is to, basically just like kind of touch, because I think you did like maybe, it was like a minute or something, like what you did on, it was a video on YouTube about her having sons and keeping her kids in Islamic, around Muslims, no father around. So I just wanted to see if you like, kind of like touch bases on that, as far as trying to keep her sons in it to like more like, Islamic wise, she don't want to lose them to the streets.
Understood. Similar to the previous question.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. So unfortunately, things didn't work out between me and your father. My fault, his fault, our fault. What's important is we ain't together. He's out of the picture. Deadbeat, dead, in jail. What's important is he's not in the picture. No problem. How many other men are out there? Whether that is you remarrying, whether that's an uncle, grandfather, whether a sister, this is rare, but it has happened. She goes to the masjid and she says, look, Assalamu alaikum guys. You see these three sons, Abdurrahman, Ahmed, and Zayd? They're your sons. If you see them in the masjid misbehaving, discipline them. If they need something, take care of them. They're your sons. After Salat al-Isha, please send them home to me. How many women are willing to do that? Honestly. Women, when they're related to people, they say to their husbands or their ex-husbands or their brothers who are the uncles, they say, where you taking my son? What you doing with my son? That's my son. What you doing with our son? What you doing with my son? You say, whoa, 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 whoa. Pause the tape, slow down. How is it just your son? You impregnated yourself? You fertilize your own eggs? Who's with you? Who paid the hospital bills? Who had to deal with your crazy mood swings and your food cravings at 2 a.m. in the morning? It's not just your son. Rather, it's what? Our son. My son. He takes my last name, the father's lineage. So oftentimes women, and it's nothing about you, but it's a fact. Many women, they be ego tripping. That's a fact. They be tripping. They be bugging out. And oftentimes they have too much pride in realizing that this boy and this girl needs a male for them to have a proper upbringing. People think boys, no, girls, they need their fathers, maybe more than the boys. Most women who tread the bad path, whatever it is, prostitution, or I don't want to say certain words in the masjid, they become this, they turn into that. I guarantee, if you took 10 of them, I guarantee that at least 9 of them would say, my father wasn't around. I can bet money on that. My father wasn't there. And my mom had a revolving door of friends and brothers. This one, that one, that one. That's a fact. Or my father was there, but he was abusive. Whatever. Or my father was too busy giving dawah. Be careful. It's not just dunya. My father was a big sheikh, imam of the world, but he was never there for us. My father was too harsh. Everything was haram. You can't do this. You can't wear this. You can't. Women that end up bad in most cases is because the relationship was bad with their father. They never had enough attention and respect and love from their fathers. So you need a father. So many sisters and many women, they think the opposite. I don't need no man. I can be your daddy and your mommy. I'll buy you this. I'll pay the bills. We don't need him. They have pride. And their pride blinds them to the nature of life, is that you can't do it by yourself. So therefore, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So if your husband isn't around, if he's dead, or if he doesn't care about his children, then the earth is spacious. There's so many good, positive brothers that can help out your sons and your daughters, even if you aren't married to them. And of course, you're not going to just send your kids to any stranger, of course. And let's be honest, there are brothers in the masjid who have issues. That's a fact. He's a good Muslim, but he may have some issues, may have some problems. He may not be the best person for a kid, but there's somebody in the masjid. There's somebody that can be a father figure, that can be a role model for that child. Unless you yourself stop and prevent them. Where are you taking my son? I thought it was my nephew. No, he's my son. Where are you taking him? We're going here. No, don't take him there. We're going to go to eat. No, he don't like eating that. I want to buy him this. No, he don't like those clothes. I want to teach him this. No, he don't like the way you teach. Or he think that you're corny. Or many women, they have this mentality. And they don't realize they're the cause behind their sons being lost to the streets. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla is merciful. And if Allah closes one door in front of you, he opens up 3 other doors. So his father's dead. His father's no life in prison. But his uncle is around. His grandfather's around. Brother Flynn in the masjid is around. Whack at that. So the woman has to be smart. You got to be resilient and resourceful. And most importantly, you got to realize that it's the situation that we're all in. Broken homes. Too many people in our community, we come from that dynamic. Sad. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is merciful. Allah's mercy is out there, but you got to seek it. That's my advice. Hopefully that makes sense. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal akhi.
Earlier you mentioned the Prophet Ibrahim when you were speaking about Taqwa.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the Quran it says that he does disassociate himself from his father. My parents are non-Muslim, and the concept that's repeated is to strengthen the family ties. Now, sometimes I feel like my family tries to drive me away from Islam. How do I keep the family ties strong?
Clear. Understood. Well, that's going to start with you. How much do you love Islam? How valuable is your Islam to you? The more you love a thing, the more it's seen and shown. So look, I love you, Mom. I love you, Grandma. You guys are Catholics or whatever, but I'm Muslim. And there's no discussion about that. I'm not ever going to become a Protestant again or whatever. Get it out of your heads. Your son is lost when it comes to that. We can talk, we can eat, we can go out, we can have fun, but not that cross, not that crucifix. You got to make that known. And whenever they talk about religion and ask questions about your religion, you got to have the knowledge. You got to be able to bat it out of the park. You have the baseball bat. They're throwing a slow pitch. You knock it out the park. Really? Where does it say that in the Bible? Did Jesus say that or Paul? Did Christ say that or the disciple? You got to be able to have the knowledge to shut them up. And if you can't give them dawah, if they don't want to hear it anymore, that's fine. But they know to keep their mouths shut. Because if you come saying some nonsense, I want to knock it out the park. You have to establish that. And my family, okay, most of my family are not Muslim. My family isn't Muslim. Few people in my family are Muslim. When they see me, they don't talk about religion. They don't say anything about Islam, bad or negative, because they know. If you open up your mouth the wrong way, you're going to regret it. But if you're weak, or you're ignorant, or you don't have that much knowledge about Islam, you're a little flimsy, flippy floppy, then they'll say bad things. Or they'll try to pull you, they'll try to call you. They'll try to sneak you some pork or some alcohol, or they'll make jokes about you, or oh, look at this picture, this is when you were baptized. You used to be a choir boy, you were studying it. You have to make that clear, that there's no leeway when it comes to my deen. I'm your son, I'm your grandson, I love you. My religion does not force me to cut off the ties. My religion tells me the opposite. But don't disrespect my religion. You want to ask about it? No problem. But don't make jokes about my religion. And don't call me to that false nonsense that you call Catholicism or whatever word or term that you give it. You have to make that known to your family. And inshallah ta'ala, somebody will get the point. And if they want to keep relations with you, they'll keep relations with you. If they want to know about Islam, they'll ask you. Mockery, laughing and joking? No. Them calling you to their religion? No. So it all starts and ends with you. Wallahu a'lam. So learn, seek knowledge, as we said. Be strong. Make them scared of you to talk about the religion, unless they're inquiring. But no debates. And Allah knows best.
Are you considered celebrating when you go to, Christmas is coming up? I want to be able to see my grandpa. Would I be considered celebrating if I went and saw him?
Tight. Are you considered celebrating Christmas if you see your grandfather? It depends when you see him.
Well, it would be during that time, because that's when I can.
The exact day or the holiday break time?
It would be during that time.
That's fine, as long as it's not on that day. Don't go visit him on the day of Christmas. Even though there are 12 days of Christmas, so on and so forth. Winter break. If that's the only time in which you have the ability to see your family because of school or work. These are based off of intentions. But try your best to avoid the actual day. Wallahu a'lam.
So my question is regarding obeying your husband. So if your husband's family is non-Muslim and he asks you to go to events with him, and they're constantly, when you do go around, they're constantly making fun of your deen or making jokes about you, or here, eat some pork, your wife's not going to say anything. Do you have to obey your husband and go to those gatherings?
Clear.
When it's constant?
Clear. You have to obey your husband. If your husband invites you to sit with his family, your in-laws, in which they take stabs at your religion, make jokes, say disrespectful things, and it's a reoccurring thing. No, you do not have to obey your husband in that. Rather, you tell your husband, I will not go, I cannot go, because when I go, I'm utterly offended. What would you do if your father-in-law talked about your mom? If you said your mom was ugly, or this or that, what would you do? Would you take it lightly if you called your mom unchaste? Your mom's a this and she's a that. How would you feel if I said it about your mother right now? Your face would become red. You would get up. You would want to attack me, kick me, throw your shoes at me. You wouldn't take it lightly. So how am I supposed to take it lightly? Someone offending Allah, disrespecting Allah, my religion, my way of life. So you have to make it known to your husband and to those family members, I will not tolerate any disrespect to my way of life. If you disrespect my religion, you're going to have problems. Allahu Alam, the nature of those problems. Physical, whatever, but we're going to have problems if you disrespect my religion. So don't do it. Keep the peace for the family's sake. If they can't respect that, then first and foremost, it proves that they really don't respect you. And they really don't want to keep good relations with you. Same question, same issue. If they keep making stags about Islam, they despise you. I don't agree with it, the grandma says. I don't agree with being Muslim, but you're my son. I know you're not a total fool. You have a reason for being a Muslim. Okay, we agree to disagree. Why would a person's husband want to be around those people in which disrespectful things are said? And something as simple and basic as pork. It's just unfathomable. Halal meat, zabiha meat, maybe a bit different, more complex. But it's a known fact that Muslims what? Muslims don't go near the swine. So a Christian that has any common sense and any respect, not just for you, but for your husband as well, that's another issue. They're going to separate themselves, the pork and the swine. And I've been to family gatherings like this, in which they sit in another room with alcohol and ham. And you're sitting in another room and they give you salmon. And it says, we're going to make a little Christian prayer. You guys can make salat. Lakum dinukum waliya din. That's somebody that you can have a relationship with, you can sit with, you can visit with. Somebody say, oh, you're not going to eat the ham? Oh, you can't eat the ham? How about today? You're a real Muslim or a fake Muslim? Someone who talks like that. There's no relationship you can have with them And if there's a wife or your husband or whoever else is calling you to be with them, something is seriously wrong with their Islam. Something is seriously wrong with their Islam in which they even tolerate that and allow that. So no, you don't have to listen to your husband if that's the case, nor are you sinful for disobeying him in that instance. Wallahu a'lam. Khalas, inshallah, if there are no other questions, we'll stop here tonight. Thank you very much. It was my honor, my privilege to be your guest. May Allah reward you well. One more.
Okay, it was music. As far as music goes, should we listen to it? Should we not listen to it?
Understood. Before you go on with this question, I want to clarify something. You had asked me on the bus about, are men allowed to hit women, correct? Are men allowed to hit their wives, etc.? And those, if you pay attention, I systematically tried to avoid the question for one reason. And that's because we were on the bus with a what? Non-Muslim. Okay? Who knows what's in his mind, his head, what he heard, what he thinks. He may agree, he may disagree. But under any circumstance, are we as Muslims going to even have any hand in shame in our religion with someone outside of our religion? And there's no shame in believing and accepting what is in the Quran. But we're talking about the misunderstanding. And obviously that was also another issue with the incident on the bus. If you notice, I tried to what? Avoid the conflict. More than once. The question about the mahram. We're not going to talk about this right now because it's clearly you have an ulterior motive. Okay? So that's first and foremost. I didn't forget about that question with regards to what's meant by beating your wife, can you beat your wife, etc. Even though some wives, they beat their husbands. That's a fact. That's a fact. Some sisters may be tougher than their husbands. They may know more martial arts than what? That's a fact. You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked. They have a darker belt than the husband. Brown belt, black belt, etc. At the end of the day, to keep things brief and simple, I've done lectures on this subject, and my answer in brief is that a Muslim should not listen to music. A Muslim is to avoid it and to stay away from it. And there's a long discussion with regards to music. Is it halal? Is it haram? Is it makruh? Are there types of music which are halal? Are there certain lyrics which are halal? That's a discussion. That is a discussion. All right, that's all I'm going to say. I know many people are going to differ with me. I never said music's halal. So don't quote me saying that. Do not quote me saying that. I never ever said that. And there's a reason why I answered this question this way. At the end of the day, my general advice is to stay away from it, to avoid it. And out of your 24 precious hours that you have in a day, how much Quran do you listen to? How much dhikr do you make? How much beneficial things are you involved with? And how addictive is music? And music is so addictive that some of the scholars of the past, such as Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah and others, they called it khamrun nufus. They said music is the wine of the soul. And if you think about it, halal, haram, good, bad, classical, jazz, rock, pop, whatever music, if you think about it, music is utterly addictive. And when you hear it, you need to hear it again and put it on repeat and loop it and make a playlist. And let me download another song and another song and another song. When I'm depressed, the first thing I need to listen to is what? Music. When I'm happy, we're having a party, we need some what? Music. A funeral, we need what? Music. And the next thing you know, like that bottle is what? And then you can't put down the bottle. And you keep saying, I'll quit when I want to. I work all week, I work hard, I'm not killing nobody. What's wrong with a little drink every now and then? Some scotch, some Hennessy, some vodka, some, a whiskey, if you would, with the old school, whatever the case may be, right? And the next thing you know, you're a drunkard. And the same applies to music. So music is highly addictive. And it is very possessive. And that's something which is indisputable. All right? So just be mindful of that. That's what I'll say with regards to that. And Allah knows best. What's up, Salah? You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. If they want to do it with everybody, if they feel comfortable, that's fine. And if you want to step on the side, that's fine as well. You're more than welcome. Come on up. That's right. By all means. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate you. If you guys feel comfortable, you're more than welcome to come up on the stage. I'm Muhammad. Javon, nice to meet you. Have a seat, relax, make yourself comfortable.
How you doing, brother? Salam.
All right, what's your name?
Lee Anthony.
Lee Anthony, okay, come on, make space, guys. You guys are more than welcome. All right, so I don't want to make this drawn out, but there's a few things that I need to mention. A few things. Number one is that the Shahada, someone who wants to be a Muslim, should not be delayed. We're not going to give them a long speech and bring them into Islam and the things afterwards. Number two, this may come as a shock, but I want to say it. There's nothing wrong with saying Allahu Akbar when you're happy. And there's nothing wrong with saying Allahu Akbar when something great happens. But instead of saying Takbir, the only thing that you can say is Allahu Akbar, and then the other brothers will what? They'll say it. Instead of saying Takbir 3 times loudly. It's a difference. You understand? There's nothing wrong with saying Allahu Akbar when something great happens. Saying it loud, being excited. But there's not just this message. Wherever you go, whenever someone becomes a Muslim, they specifically say Takbir, Takbir, Takbir. You don't necessarily have to say it like that every time. You guys get the point?
Yes.
All right, so this is what I want you guys to do, please. Just repeat after me. We're going to say it in Arabic, and then afterwards we'll say it in English, okay? So you're going to say Ashhadu.
Ashhadu. Ashhadu.
An
An.
la
La.
ilaha
Ilaha.
illa
Illa.
Allah.
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 Wa ashhadu
Wa ashhadu.
anna
Anna.
Muhammadan
Muhammadan.
Rasulu
Rasulu.
Allah.
Allah.
I bear witness
I bear witness.
I bear witness.
that there is no God but Allah.
There is no God but Allah.
I bear witness
I bear witness
that nothing deserves to be worshipped but Allah.
that nothing deserves to be worshipped but Allah.
I bear witness
I bear witness
that Muhammad
that Muhammad
is the messenger of Allah.
is the messenger of Allah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Welcome. Congratulations. Congratulations. Alhamdulillah. Congratulations. You guys are welcomed in our religion. You guys are my brother, and I mean that. You have responsibilities, rights over me. And it's such a happy time. And if I gave you any advice without lecturing you, it will be in the following points. Number one, it's religion. Islam is a religion of knowledge. You gotta learn. If you don't like reading, if you're not that studious, if you're busy, you gotta take 5, 10, 15 minutes out of every day to learn your religion. Number two is you have to have good company. Not just average company, let alone bad company, but brothers that push you. Brothers that you look up to. Brothers that inspire you to be better. Company is everything. Companionship is everything in Islam. Number three is to take things slowly. There are many aspects of Islam, different types of Muslims, different things you see, right, wrong. Take it slow. Don't jump too fast. Don't burn yourselves out. Keep the zeal, keep the hunger. But Allah created the heavens and earth in 6 days. And He could have made the heavens and earth immediately, but He did it in time to show us things are done in steps. So you guys are more than welcome. You're my brothers in Islam. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you both. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. Wa iyaakum.